This is episode number 53 of the Homeowner Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Craig Williams.
Hello, and welcome to the Homeowner Show. We are glad you are here for year two.
Year two starts today.
Yep, episode 53.
That's right.
So
it's exciting.
Wind those clocks back because we got another year to drudge through.
Yep.
So
we got more episodes in the tank, man.
Dude,
a lot.
Got tanks for years and years.
Yeah.
And you're going to be here to listen to them. Yeah. So if you want to hear all that good content, you got to hit the subscribe button. I don't even know. Is it subscribe in Stitcher and...
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're still subscribing.
Is it a subscribe button?
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much.
I think I've listened to like a podcast on Stitcher.
I don't even have the app.
So what's the other one? Spotify.
Spotify, yeah.
Can you subscribe on Spotify?
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever it is you're using, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play.
Yeah.
Soon to be Pandora.
Sure.
We're supposed to be up there soon. Are there any more?
I mean, pretty much any place that you can find podcasts, you're going to be able to find our podcast.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
Lurking.
Yeah. Pretty much anywhere, and even third-party apps like Pocket Cast.
Yes.
One of these days, they're going to give us some money.
Well, not me. They're not going to give me. I've said too much awful about them.
Yes, you have.
So, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I know.
Keep your dirty money.
I know you are.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Whatever.
So, but you can also follow us on the Facebook.
Yeah.
On the Instagram, the Twitters.
Well, you can go to Twitter.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's your life.
Yeah. There's a name out there that we own in Twitter.
Yes. And we put things there
every once in a while.
And you sometimes respond to it.
I hope so. Oh, man.
So, but Facebook and Instagram, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. How you doing, man?
Dude, I'm exhausted.
Well, you look pretty terrible.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's exactly what I was going for. So, mission accomplished.
Yeah, you got a lot going on, though.
Oh, man. My house is just completely gutted.
Yeah.
So
we're going to have to... We might have to have a full episode just on that.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to see any of it, there's a company called Black Diamond Construction that's actually been doing a lot of the work, and they've been putting a lot of the pictures up from my house, like before and after stuff.
Okay.
So you can see some of the craziness. I mean, like it's difficult to tell from like a photograph, like just how ridiculously weird my house is, but you can see some of it.
Yeah.
So I think just this week they put up some pictures of like my dining room, and my dining room has got like a 45-degree angled ceiling.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's that.
Yeah, it's different.
You can see that.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It has a metal roof now.
It looks good.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I like it.
So it's a completely different house at this point.
Yes.
Which means my wife is happy.
Well, yeah. At least you're not trying to find a new house.
Right.
At the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, give it time.
Yeah, it'll probably happen eventually. Most people do move.
Oh. So other than that,
yeah,
I'm doing fantastic.
Okay, good.
What's been going on with you?
Well, I've been pretty busy. Had my mother-in-law in town last weekend. My kids had some birthday parties, stuff going on, and so she decided this year that she was going to give us something outdoor for the kids to play.
Mm-hmm.
And
like a leash run?
Yeah, exactly. And we already kind of have one set up for the dog. We thought something similar for the kids would work out.
But you want to keep those separated so they don't bite each other.
Yeah, the problem is we don't have a fence, and we were afraid people might say stuff.
Oh.
So instead, we thought, okay, well, maybe a swing set, a little more normal, right?
Right.
But the problem is that just the way our backyard is laid out, it doesn't really lend itself to having that type of equipment in it. And because of the POA that we live in, again, go listen to our episode with the mayor, and you can get into that a little bit. Man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long
time ago.
About a year ago.
Yeah, almost. And we can't concrete anything into the ground as far as play equipment like that goes. So we're gonna have to try to figure out how to anchor it down, all that kind of stuff. But instead, we came up with a different idea. So on the side of our house, we had an area that was leveled off, and they had put some raised flower beds in that area. But the wood was all rotting around them, and it was just a weed infestation. So I removed all of that stuff, which was a chore in and of itself.
Yeah.
And we decided we're going to put two things in over there. We put a new sandbox. And so this sandbox is big. It's 6 foot by 10 foot. So it's really big. And it's very interesting. The cool thing about these two projects is my mother-in-law had wood for free that she had been given. She had to figure out something to do with. One of the things that she was given was she has a friend who owns a log house, and they had scraps of the log that they would sided the house with. And so these things are huge.
Oh, yeah.
And basically we put one layer of them around the sandbox. And
well, they were at one time trees.
Most of them.
And what I know and have heard about trees
is they're big.
They get pretty big.
Yeah, they can. So we used that for the surround. So kind of an interesting look, and it was very inexpensive. Free. And
the best price.
Yeah. So we underlaid it with the fabric for weed barrier fabric.
Yeah.
And I was a little concerned that we're going to have to overlap that stuff. But, man, I found a piece of weed barrier fabric on Amazon that's 10 foot by 20 foot. And I bought that. It was cheaper than buying a roll of it. So we laid that in there, and then we put a full yard of sand, play sand in that thing, which, by the way, if you're ever building a sandbox and you need a significant amount, don't go buy the bags.
Right.
And those things are so expensive. We went to a building material type place. They got mulch and all that kind of stuff. And we bought a yard of sand, taxes included, for $38.
There you go.
So, I mean, that's a ton. So if you don't know what a yard is, like, you buy grass that way, you buy other things that way. It's basically a 3 cubic feet.
Yeah,
is what that
fills
is.
up the back of your pickup truck.
Oh my goodness! You should have seen me. I was riding on my tires on the way home. But it was really, really cool project. And then the other thing that we did that I'm more excited about because the kids come back in less dirty was we built what we're calling a mud kitchen. And if you go on Pinterest, man, these things they're everywhere. Lots of people are building them or buying them. And basically, we built this 8 foot by 28 inch kitchen. And so on one side, there's an oven. Of course, it's just a door, basically. It's got a couple shelves in it for them to play that there's an oven. We've got door, I said about to say door knobs, not door knobs, burner knobs that turn. We painted burners on there and everything, so they can actually act like they're cooking something. And they're shelving in the middle, and then on the right hand side, we put a sink. And this was the challenging thing. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on this, but I found a double sink on Facebook Marketplace for $20.
Yeah.
So I bought that, found a really cheap, actually it wasn't cheap, it was an $80 faucet at Walmart that was on sale for $30.
Okay.
So I bought that. But the challenge was I want water to come through, right?
Yeah.
How am I gonna accomplish this? Because you can't just hook a faucet up to a spigot.
Right.
I mean, I did, but you can't just put a water hose up to the water faucet. There's like 4 connections you have to make. So do your research or send us an email and I can explain how to do that. But the other thing is a lot of people have these things. They just fill up a bucket and dump it whenever they're done. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's dumb. I mean, if you want to fill up buckets and dump them every time, I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying doing that is dumb. So don't do it. Instead, we plumbed it.
Yeah.
And so we put PVC. PVC is so cheap, and we plumbed it out to the backyard. So now it just drains out the backyard. And man, the kids just have a blast out there.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of it. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I don't know. I don't think there's a way we can really post pictures. Otherwise, I would.
I mean, like on Facebook?
That's the place. I'll do it there.
Or there's this platform that's like for nothing but pictures, Instagram.
What?
Yes. The rumors are true.
Okay. So yeah, look for those there. I've got some pretty cool pictures. I will tell you this. So I'm part of a Facebook group that was talking about mud kitchens one day, and one person posted something about theirs, and their big question was, how'd you get the knobs to turn? Because that's those knobs are not created to go outside; they're created to go inside. So that was kind of a feat in and of itself, but. Again, just the right connections. We made it happen.
Do they make any clicky noises?
No, they don't. But to get them to turn without just like putting a screw through the back of it, because then it just either screws or unscrews.
Right.
We basically used a bolt and some washers. And anyway, I can take some more pictures. And if you have a question, send us an email, info@homeownershow.com, and we'll get that information to you.
I'm really disappointed in the lack of clicky sounds on your knobs.
Well, if I probably would have made it click if these knobs had that function. But these don't. I don't know. Surely that's like an oven specific thing, right?
I mean, that's like the whole reason those fidget spinners. Yeah, not fidget spinners. But no,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they got like the little cubes that have all the little.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Because they click and they make the little noises.
Yeah, they do.
That's the best part.
Yep.
Come on, man. You want the best for your kids?
I do, but I built this instead. But it was fun. I'll tell you, it was a fun project. And here's the crazy thing: between those two projects, and whenever you see the pictures of it, you won't believe me. We spent $215.
Oh wow!
I mean, that you won't believe me, because the wood alone would have cost at least that much.
Yeah,
we built it all out of cedar. And so it would have cost a lot more than that.
Yeah.
She just, like I said, she got a great deal.
That's awesome, man.
That's my story.
Well, we have a really cool episode for you guys this week. We have our good friend Meg Arbour in the studio, and we're going to be talking about homeschooling.
Yeah.
Which is a different use for the home than we've talked about before.
Well, it is, but you would be surprised, I think, to know how many people are homeschooling. I'm sure Meg probably has more information on this than I do, but it is much more of a trend than I think it was when we were younger.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been more terrified than when I stumbled upon like a homeschooling convention. That's an aggressive group of ladies usually.
Yeah. Hey, can I throw out my favorite homeschooler joke? Can I do it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it could be potentially offensive.
Bring it on.
But I don't want it to be, because I think it's hilarious. Here it is. Homeschoolers have no class. That's all I got. That's my favorite one. I told you it could be potentially offensive. If I offended you, send me an email, Craig@homeownershow.com. It'll be fine.
I'll take those emails. Is that your only homeschooler joke?
That's the only one I got.
So what by default was the best one? Okay, good. As long as we know.
Yep.
All right. How you doing, Meg?
Doing well.
Awesome. We are glad to have you in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I mean, she made a special trip from out of town just to come be on this show.
That's impressive.
Yeah. From Fort Worth?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. All right. Stockyards.
Yeah. Cooper's Barbecue.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And we're derailed already.
That's right. I'm already thinking. Sorry. At this point, I've got Lonesome Dove on the brain.
Billy Bob's. We got all kinds of stuff.
So anyway, we were going to talk about homeschooling. We want to get into how you got started with this. What got you going to even consider doing this? Because this is a big responsibility. It's a big thing to take on. Where were you when you got started? How did you get started?
Sure.
Take us back in time.
I'll tell you the story.
Because you've been at this for a while now, right?
11 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yep. So yeah, like you said, homeschooling's gaining popularity by the day. And so this is not something that I grew up and ever considered, oh yeah, I'm gonna homeschool my kids. No way. I thought only weird people homeschooled, honestly. It was like long denim skirts and, just, it was weird. And
we'll make the determination by the end of the interview.
Yeah.
Okay.
You either bought new clothes or things have changed.
Things are changing. Let me say that.
But there was a stigma, wasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. to add into that stigma, it has been pretty recently that homeschooling has just become legal in Texas. And I say recently, in the last 20 years or so. So that doesn't really seem that long, but there were people homeschooling long before that. But we've been at it 11 years now. And so it is definitely gaining in popularity. So how we came to homeschool was, honestly, God just had us placed at a church. It was probably 13 years ago. We had 2 kids at the time and knew that we wanted to give our kids a good education. Yeah. We also knew that we wanted to have more kids, and we knew that we could not afford private school for all of the kids that we wanted to have. So that was kind of the predicament that we were in. I got my degree in education, so I had experience in the public school realm. I knew what it was like, and I also knew that for the most part, I did not want to have my kids in that setting. So I know that there are good public schools in certain places, but in the location that we were in Fort Worth, public schools were not something that I would consider. So that left us with private school that we couldn't afford, or figure something out. So the Lord had us at a church, and it just so happened that a lot of the families were homeschooling families there. And so I got the opportunity to watch moms with more kids than I have who homeschooled their own kids. And I thought, I can do this, at least for the elementary years, which I was not confident at all in the beginning, in the older years. But I thought, I can teach my kids to read, and I can teach them early math, and I get to be at home with them. So we just prayed through that and decided, we're gonna try this homeschooling thing, at least to start, and just see where that goes. And so we I teamed up with a couple of other families that were already homeschooling. They had kids pretty close to my kids' ages, and we started this little co-op. And so we'd meet a couple times a week, and I loved their vision for homeschooling. They had chosen some classical curriculum, and I didn't really even know what classical curriculum was. I just thought, I love what you're doing, and that's what I want to do. And so I hopped in. They'd already been doing it for a year. I joined them, and we became really great friends, and our kids enjoyed spending time together. And so we just kind of kept the homeschooling thing going for a few years. Yeah.
And that's, you mentioned like classical education, and I actually remember calling you a few years back when we were talking about some different school options for my daughter, and I was asking you questions about classical education and how that works. And I think some of it had to do with like the Singapore math and different things like that. Yes. So could you kind of explain like what the difference is between like classical and like the other traditional forms of education that...
I'll do my best. So from my understanding and experience, classical education kind of builds on a threefold model called the trivium. The beginning years are called the grammar stage, which is where you're kind of just taking in loads of information. It's essentially memory work of every kind. You just memorize. And that is a stage that lasts from the time that your kids are born, really throughout lifetime, but it's a designated period, like about until 3rd or 4th grade. Around 4th grade, they kind of are transitioning from the grammar stage into the dialectic stage, which becomes where they are starting to ask a few more questions and get not just memory work, but start to dialogue with you just a little bit about, so why is this called this? What does this do? They're starting to get curious and ask questions. Yeah. And then through that kind of lasts through the middle school years, and starting around 7th, 8th grade, they're beginning to transition into the rhetoric phase, which is more where they're taking all of the memory work that they've been mastering, all of the questions that they've been answering and the answers that they've been getting to those questions, and they're taking that and they're forming their own opinions, and they're starting to be able to talk with you about these topics and teach the topics that they have been learning. And so it's kind of, when you look at it, it's a natural phase of learning. And like I said, we're all in these phases at different periods of life. I mean, I'm learning about podcasts here at 38 years old. So I'm in the grammar stage of that. We're all in grammar stage of life over some topics, but it's kind of just a natural learning phase. And so it's really cyclical. They bring in things that just are very repetitive. You hear it over and over and over throughout all of those stages of learning.
Awesome. Yeah. And so how would that be different from like other ways that people have done education?
So a lot of times people will choose just a topic of education and they'll say, okay, so this year we're going to learn about biology, and then biology never really gets picked back up and tied into anything else that they learn. So you don't really understand how biology is pertinent for life because it was a one-time subject that you never revisited. But the classical model is attempting at least to start it at an early age of memorizing some biology facts, showing you how biology is useful in real life, and then getting you as an adult to practice some biology and see how we actually use this in real life. That's
I got
just an example.
Okay, so it's really trying to like integrate all those subjects into the other aspects of your life.
Yes.
I got you. Okay. And so but you also mentioned when you got started, you initially were kind of in like this co-op.
Yes.
Yeah. And so do you think, and I got this kind of like from your tone, the way that you were expressing it, that like, could you have done homeschooling without that initial co-op group? Would it have been more difficult? I mean, is that something you recommend for people, or how'd that work?
Okay, good question. So you absolutely could school without a homeschool co-op, but I would not have wanted to. I loved the friendships that I made through that co-op, and then also the socialization that my kids got through that co-op. They met some of their really good friends through that, and even to this day, they're buddies. They see each other and love to hang out. And I really feel like a co-op brought, I mean, we all know we each have different strengths and weaknesses, so we could kind of play on each other's strengths and weaknesses, and the subjects that maybe one of us really wanted to teach or felt strong in teaching, we would take over that for the day. And then a subject that somebody else was like, oh, I don't know if I can quite do this, somebody else was strong in. So I just felt like that was a huge benefit of our co-op, was the strengths of pulling from the other moms and even students. I mean, students and parents will see things in your kids that they will want to pull out or teach them and grow them in. And so that was a good experience for us.
Awesome. This episode of the Homeowner Show has been brought to you by Drone Quote.
That's right, Craig. We've got a really cool company here that is sponsoring this episode. And one of the things that is really neat about them is they are going to give you quotes on a new roof or new solar without ever having someone from a company come in and give you that quote in person.
That's right. Drone Quote is an online portal that lets you comparison shop multiple quotes in an easy to read and understandable way. You see all the quotes in a uniform manner and with the links that show up in Google, Yelp, Better Business Bureau, and your state contractor's license information. And they deploy FAA certified drone pilots to conduct your roof survey before construction and after, because chances are you're not going to climb up on your roof.
Probably not. And they are currently operating out of California, Texas, Colorado, Florida, Nevada, Arizona, New Jersey, and New York.
So if you're in one of those states and you need a new roof, some solar power,
give them a call. Yeah, so I've got some questions that I think are things that some of our listeners may be interested to have some answers to. But before we get there, I think I would like to ask you a question that we typically ask toward the end of our podcast, and that is, what are some misconceptions that you think people may have about homeschooling?
Okay, also a good question. So I hear a lot, well, what about your kids? Don't you feel like they're not socialized? And that just absolutely makes me laugh, because I think my kids, if they could like do their own thing throughout the day, would have more social interaction than probably most public school kids, honestly. They are going constantly. We see friends at church. We see, we are a part of a classical conversations, which they don't like to call themselves a co-op, but it's a 1 day a week school. I kind of do term it a co-op, where we get together with friends and they have a tutor in their room. So they see people there, they see people at church, they see people at their sports. They're online constantly visiting with their friends through whatever online platform they have out there. So, I mean, really, we see people all the time. And my kids are not shy. They will talk to anybody, no matter what age they are. And they're great with adults. They're great with other kids. They're great with kids who aren't just their own age. They're great with little kids or older kids. So I feel like that's almost a perk to homeschooling, is that in your traditional public school, your kids are kind of grouped up with people their own age, whereas in homeschool, they end up being with kids of all ages all the time. And so they don't just get used to people their own age, they get used to people of any age. And so I feel like a huge perk of that is just they learn how to socialize in all different areas and types of life.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's probably that's why I wanted to ask that question, because we've not had this conversation. In fact, I just met you. So, but I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that when you homeschool, your kids are going to be socially inept. Now, I think based on what you told me just a few minutes ago, that it was illegal in Texas back whenever we were in school. I think that may be part of the reason that people feel that way, is because they didn't really go out and co-op with other people. Now, there seems to be a lot different options. And you even mentioned something there that I'm glad you brought it up, because it was the other thing that I want to get to. And that is that there are a lot of people out there that think, okay, so basically you stay home all day, you study, you go to sleep, you stay home all day, you study, you go to sleep. That's your day. But the other thing that I feel like people really don't understand is my kids don't have, or they think my kids don't have extracurricular opportunities unless I go out and provide, piano lessons or ballet lessons or whatever. But you said sports. And I know personally people that are involved in theater and swimming and all kinds of things that are provided through co-ops. And can you speak to that just for a moment? Because there's a whole nother life outside of the quote unquote school part of it that is what other people would maybe consider extracurricular, that homeschool kids do now, at least here in Texas, I know there are other states that are this way, have access to.
Yes.
Talk to me about that for a minute.
Okay, so every city is going to be different, obviously. I'm from Fort Worth. Fort Worth has a plethora of options for homeschoolers. You've got city leagues, you've got co-ops galore up there that provide all different stuff. I mean, ranging from art classes to sports to PEs to core classes, math, science, all of those kind of things. And then you've got other I know there's TAFA up there, which provides a fine arts, electives, those type of things. Also, when you get into the upper grades, say like high school levels, you can start taking dual enrollment classes at various community colleges. So it is definitely not like you have to stay at home and you wake up and you just spend all day at home. We do sports class, we do gymnastics, baseball, karate, piano. We do all of it. There's
so basically
options.
What other kids do.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's my point, I guess. And I'm glad you spoke to that, is that you're still getting a lot of what people in public schools are getting by being participants in homeschooling. In fact, I would say from some of my experience, homeschool kids a lot of times have more extracurricular opportunities than private schools do at times, because sometimes they don't have the funding to be able to provide those things.
It's true.
So anyway, just something interesting there.
Yeah, and I know, you have an 11th grader now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so have you guys started
10th
grader? Okay, sorry. Is it going to, okay. 10th grader. So he's, what is that, a sophomore?
Yes.
So have you guys started taking advantage of any of that stuff yet? Or is that going to be something that's going to come later for those last 2 years?
We plan to in the spring.
Okay.
Kind of enroll him in a dual credit math class. He's currently taking algebra right now. And once he finishes that, which we hope to be done around Christmas time for that, we're hoping that he can enroll in a class at our local community college and do an algebra class, which will be dual credit. He'll get another semester of algebra, and then that'll go on his college resume.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Is he excited about that?
We're excited about that.
Yeah.
I think he is. I mean, he does like a good challenge. So yeah, I think he's.
I mean, and he's kindergarten straight through to where he's at right now, right?
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and this is like a full-time job for you.
Absolutely.
And I think for some people that can be really daunting. And you're telling me that you've got a degree in education, so you have a leg up, so to speak. But what about people that don't have that? Where do they get some of the confidence to be able to do that? Where, I'm sure even as an educator by trade, you're not most likely great at all subjects.
Right.
So how do you make up for your weaknesses? I know you said that you in your co-op group, you play to each other's strengths. What does that look like, and how does that kind of play out?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say you absolutely do not need an education degree to homeschool your kids. In fact, I really don't know how much my degree has helped me other than to just know what to expect in a schoolroom setting. Other than that, I've kind of just had to figure it out on my own because, like you said, I didn't get a degree in every subject and every grade level. And that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching all of the subjects, all of the grade levels. There are curriculum galore out there for you to order. You can get it off Amazon. I mean, you can find it anywhere. And then in addition to that, there are lesson plans for the curriculum. So you literally, all you have to do is decide, first of all, what classes, what subjects you want to teach. Google that, and you will have an overwhelming amount of choices for what you could do. And then once you've kind of narrowed it down to, I think I want to teach Saxon math or whatever it is, you just order the book and you get it. And at least in the early years, Saxon is laid out to where it says, teacher says, and you read the quote to your student. And then you read in the teacher manual, okay, this is what your student should say or should do now. So, I mean, they will hold your hand.
Yeah, and Saxon is a curriculum for public schools as well.
So, I mean,
that's not a homeschool specific curriculum even.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and I mean, there are, like I said, tons of options out there. There are online classes that you can take. If you just aren't confident in your ability to teach math, you can go to Khan Academy online, and there's videos that will teach you how to teach your kid from pre-K all the way through college if you want.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, and this is part of the reason we want to talk to you because you write curriculum. I mean, you're part of a group that does this.
So we write lesson plans, yes, for pre-existing curriculum that is out there. And yes, so the two ladies that I mentioned earlier that I teamed up with early on in my homeschooling journey, we did this for probably 4 or 5 years, and every year we would write out lesson plans just for our own personal use because we wanted at home on the days that we were home to be kind of on the same page and teaching the same things. And then so when we would come together the very next day, we knew what we were going to be teaching that day. And so we would write our curriculum during the summer, or write our lesson plans during the summer. And then during the school year, we knew exactly what we were supposed to be doing. And so for years and years, we would say, man, we need to publish these because we really think that they would help people. And we just kept saying it. We really think these would help people. We really think. And then finally, we just did it. We started Lesson Plan Ladies and published our lesson plans that we had been writing all along. We did have to rewrite them in a format that would be easily understandable by the general population. But we did. We published those lesson plans. That was about 5 years ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And what's the name of all that?
Lesson Plan Ladies.
Lesson Plan Ladies. Okay. And they can find you.
LessonPlanLadies.com.
There you go. All right. And you guys, I think you told me it goes up through like a certain grade that you guys organized, right?
Pre-K through fourth.
Okay.
Yes. And we stopped there just because we found in our own personal lives that the elementary levels, just kind of getting going in the homeschool arena was a little bit difficult. You just kind of had to do it all yourself. And then by the time you know what you're doing, you're going to start wanting to choose different things for different kids. And so, which is what we all did. We all kind of just went our separate directions because as our kids got older, they wanted to do different things and we wanted to provide them with different opportunities. And so I'm no longer co-oping with those same two ladies, but we did want to write our lesson plans through fourth grade so that moms would have a solid foundation for beginning their homeschool journey.
Well, and so like, I want to ask you how much those cost, not because I want people to like know what your products are, but like I want to go somewhere with. So what does a lesson plan cost from you guys?
Anywhere from $5 up to maybe $30 for individual lesson plans. And then we've got bundles too that are, if you want to get every single subject for one solid grade level, you can buy it for $120.
Okay. So you just have those in perpetuity to...
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the reason I ask that is because I would imagine, one of the things that we hear from like public school teachers all the time is that they don't have enough money to have the supplies and things that they need for their classrooms and things like that. So like what do you feel like would be like a good budget for someone, if they decide to homeschool? I mean, I can imagine that could feel a little daunting on the old checkbook.
Yes, it can. I do remember, especially in the early years, as I'm choosing all of this curriculum, thinking, wow, this is not cheap to homeschool my kids. But, so I don't know if I mentioned, we've got 4 kids and I was able to reuse everything 4 separate times. So that's pretty nice, depending on how many kids you have, I guess.
Well, and lucky in that, like what you bought, you liked.
Yes. Yeah. Right? I research well. I know a lot of people that will try something out and decide, nope, don't like that. Gonna just scrap that for the next kid and do something else. So, I would say a good budget for, that's kind of hard. Maybe $300 for a year's worth of books.
Yeah.
So I would think you could buy it all. And depending on how thrifty you are, you can search half price books. There's a lot of online used bookstores, stuff like that. You can get stuff for cheap or almost free. Yeah.
What's kind of your go-to resource for that kind of stuff?
I like cbdbooks.com. Love Amazon because I've got the 2-day shipping for Prime members. Those are probably my 2 biggest go-to, the Amazon and CBD.
What's CBD?
Christian Book Distributors.
Okay.
I think it's just cbd.com or .org, something like that. So
I just never heard of it. So
yeah,
but I'm not a homeschool teacher.
There you go.
But really, what I heard you say there was this doesn't cost as much as you might think it does.
Yeah,
$300 a year.
Yeah.
Whenever you said $300, I was waiting for you to say a month, and then you said a year. So like, I'm sitting there going, okay, oh goodness gracious, we're talking like
uniforms at public school can cost
$50 a month.
Yes,
it's very, very different.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not bad at all. So that brings me to another question, and that is like, a lot of houses aren't set up to be a school, and so I think that in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I purchase a house, I want to make sure it has these rooms in it and those sorts of things. Especially being the homeowner show, like we're interested in how homes are built and made and put together and how people are servicing those things. But like, how do you have your home set up to homeschool?
So we homeschool in our formal dining room. We don't ever use the formal dining room for formal eating. It's set up as a homeschool room. We also do a lot of our work in the study because that just happens to be where we have our computers located. And a lot of our stuff is either typed work or online work. So between those 2 rooms, that's kind of where our kids spend the vast majority of their time. I know a lot of people with much smaller homes will just homeschool at their dining room table. So they just clear it off and bring in the books. And so that's kind of just what they do, and they make it work. So you don't necessarily have to have an entire separate room for homeschooling. your curriculum does take up some space. I mean, I would say a bookshelf's worth if you're pretty diligent at culling and, you're just not an overbuyer. But you do need some space for books. But other than that, it's not an overwhelming amount.
Yeah, that sounds awesome because, I one of the things I didn't hear you say is, oh, we just let our kids do their school in their bedroom. And the only reason I bring that up is because I know that that's a challenge for kids, especially once they go to college, is trying to be in the same space, like a dorm room, for example, to study and sleep and have as a, quote unquote living area, all of those sorts of things. That becomes a challenge to them. And statistically speaking, it's easier to not live in a dorm whenever it comes to those sorts of things. But it sounds to me like you would be an advocate of find a place in your house to be kind of the central place where everybody meets.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it might be kind of fun for like if Kevin has a couple like to riff on some stereotypes of homeschooling.
Okay.
So like one of the ones I maybe see some people being a little snarky about is well, you can just sleep in till whenever you want and get up at noon and do your work. Do you guys actually do any work over there? And
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever get any of that?
I've heard that one.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, there have been a few times that I'm like, why are my kids not awake? It's 9:30. Y'all need to be getting up.
Yeah.
So we definitely have those days, but
that's why they're doing work till 8 o'clock at night.
Well, that too, yeah. I will also say that it is a lot easier to just get your schoolwork done when I have a 4-person classroom versus a 25 or 30-person class room.
So you can get more done in a shorter amount of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They get a lot more one-on-one from their teacher. I can't spend the entire amount of time with, just one of them, but, they get me every 4 turns versus, well, you're going to need to wait. I've got person number 25 over there that has their hand raised and I'll be to you in your classroom in just a minute. So they're getting a lot more work done. And then also if they really genuinely need me and I am not available, I'm working with somebody else, then I'll just say, hey, pull out your reading, do your reading while you're waiting on me. And then I'll come help you with that math problem. So,
yeah. Have you heard any, Kev?
Yeah. Like, one of my favorite ones is, well, you just couldn't cut it in public school, so you have to be homeschooled.
Well, you got some behavior issues going on.
Obviously, obviously you just can't. You're not accepted at public school, so you got to be a homeschooler.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that sounds like more of an issue for my children.
I have some people in mind, but I'm not saying they're your children.
All right. We're not saying they're not my children.
I didn't say that either. But I guess the thing that to Craig's point here is a lot of these stereotypes are just that.
Yeah.
They're stereotypes. And at the end of the day, I think it's a choice.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason, like we said earlier, it has a stigma with it. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of choices that people make. I mean, you buy a Ford over a Chevy, and there's a stigma there, right? And so, I don't know. I appreciate your diligence in saying, you know what, this is what's best for my family and for what I'm trying to do with my kids. Craig and I both have our kids in public school, mm-hmm. So it's not that we have chosen that homeschool lifestyle, but I can still appreciate the fact that that's what you've chosen for your family.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safety issue for me and my wife.
And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. I have so many things going through my head right now. I don't know. Here's a question I had. So there's a new trend out, and I've become recently way more aware of it. And that is something that has some tangential properties to homeschooling, and that is virtual schooling, where there are some both charter schools and public schools that are having full out virtual schools, where you as a mom are there's two different ways this seems to go.
Could be a dad.
It could be a dad. I'm saying you because she's in the studio. Okay, let's be clear. I'm not gender biased. Goodness gracious. Even if men are anyway. So like I said, there's two ways this seems to go. One of them is that the parent is somewhat absent and the kids are completely doing their thing online, and some of it is that these schools are requiring parents to really do the bulk of the teaching, but the online school is really kind of pushing the curriculum and the format and the testing and the grading and all of those sorts of things. So do you know much about any of these virtual schools? Have you looked into them at all?
I don't know a lot about the online schooling from the early years, but I do know that they are becoming increasingly popular.
Yeah.
There are students that are homeschooled completely, and I would just say that's kind of, at least the ones that I'm aware of, it's going to really depend on the nature of your student. I mean, if that student is just kind of naturally driven and pretty diligent, it's going to work out well for them to be in one of these online schools where mom's not super, or dad is not super hands-on, because you're going to be able to just plug them into their classes and they'll just go. Yeah. But I mean, we all know kids are different and they have different needs. And I think that's another huge perk of homeschooling. You can kind of meet each different kid where they are at, whether it is, they're having a little bit of behavior problem in class. Maybe they just need to get out and go jump on a trampoline for 10 minutes in between classes, or whatever it is. You as a homeschool parent can cater to those needs a lot better than a teacher can at a public or private school. You just have a lot more options.
Yeah. And I would say that that's something that I had thought about earlier, and we just never got back around to it. And that is that I would think that there are some kids that homeschooling isn't conducive to. Sure. I would think, and part of that may have a lot to do with the family dynamic, and the way the parents are interacting with their kids and choosing to raise their kids. That surely has something to do with it. But personality type makes a big difference too. I mean,
it does.
You said that your kids are super social and they no stranger to really anybody. But again, that's also very situational from family to family. They're, even from kid to kid. I can look at my own kids and see that their personalities are very different. But yeah, I mean, you ultimately, what's best for your kids.
Yep.
And you're making that decision, and you are able to teach them the way they need to be taught. And that's a lot more difficult in a school where you've got 20 or 30 kids in a classroom, I would assume.
Yep.
So,
yeah, well, I mean, since you've been at this for 11 years now, I can imagine that the internet has changed the way that you even approach a lot of this kind of stuff. How has that really kind of changed for you guys? And I have some follow-up to that too, but I imagine you guys utilize that quite a bit. Yeah,
and more so in the older years. The older they're getting, definitely we are spending a little bit more time online. So researching various science topics and artists, I don't know, whatever. The research area, I think, has been the biggest way that we utilize the internet. Although I would say that it's still encouraged to go to the library. We personally just don't make it to the library very often.
Right.
But I mean, the internet provides resources just in abundance that you can go, you can have your research at your fingertips, literally. And
well, I mean, that coupled with, I mean, you just mentioned Amazon. I mean, you can have a book that you want there in 2 days, and I don't have to spend the gas to go to the library.
Yep.
Not dissing libraries. Libraries are cool, but come on. I mean,
that's time that it takes to get there and find it. And which I find myself a lot of times just we're really crunched for time during the day when we start school by 9, and then I find myself often 3, 4, even 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, oh gosh, we still have all this to do, and then we've got sports here at 5:30. So I mean, it's a full day, like you said.
And there's a lot of virtual libraries.
Yes,
as well.
That's
I mean, in fact, here in Montgomery County where we live, the library system has online portals that you can go in and
check
out books and audiobooks.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, it's things that, again, knowing the community that you live in, knowing the area that you've chosen to buy into, will give you an understanding of what you have available to you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I asked that question because I know you mentioned earlier that your kids will like chat with their friends online and things like that. So I mean, like, do you guys have something in your home in order to maybe protect the kids from going weird places on the internet, or how does that work in your house?
Yeah, so we do several things to kind of just protect as much as we can. First of all, I would say the biggest one is having conversations with them. We know that they will eventually come across things, see things that are just not appropriate. And so to have the conversation and say, when you see this, here's your action step. It's not, it's not to linger. It's not to just hang out or research it more. You need to turn it off. But we also pay for something called Covenant Eyes, and there's a million of different brands of these out there. But I think it's $15 a month, and it will, first of all, block a lot of the content on the internet, a lot of the really negative content. Yeah. But then you can set your settings differently on there. But then also it will track and report to whoever, the parents or whatever, what has been viewed or searched for throughout that week. And so we have that. And then also, we have a 2-story home. We don't allow any kind of electronics upstairs. We keep them all downstairs in family areas where they can't be taken off and in hiding in a little separate spot all by themselves. We want them in a public area. And so I would say just be as proactive as possible, but then also recognize if you want to sin, you're going to be able to do it. And so just, have put up your precautions and know what's expected and to communicate those well with your kids. So
does what you guys use, does it filter things like YouTube and different platforms like that?
YouTube is a hard one to filter. So technically YouTube does not even, or is not supposed to allow pornographic anything.
Right.
But I mean, we all know that is
certain things,
huge gray area there. So it will not filter YouTube as much as just report what has been viewed. So
a good tip for, I was actually talking to a group of parents a couple weeks ago, and a lot of them didn't realize that like Twitter allows pornographic material, and like I think it's the only platform that does, like the only social platform that does. But it's, they just let it up there. You can, if you want to go search for it and find it, it's up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary. Because if you you have a high schooler that's got a Twitter account, and who knows if they do, I don't know. But they can access that material.
Yeah.
So nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
Other than ban Twitter. So.
Yeah. It's just the world we live in. We live in a generation that is highly computer oriented. And so I would just say that your biggest tool is going to be to educate your kids and teach them the way that they should go.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like that's something that kids need to have better education on, how to use technology and different things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. You definitely, it's highly needed and changing by the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think that your kids have a better grasp of technology than like even you do sometimes?
Oh, yeah. Two of my kids have built their own computers. So I have no doubt that they can do something on a computer that I never will be able to. Which is partly scary. But again, I just go back to, you train them in the way that you want them to walk, and you just pray and ask the Lord to protect them. And, I just...
Yeah. All right, I'm curious. So what are they building computers for?
Personal use.
Yeah.
Gaming computers mostly.
Okay.
But they use them
like actual like full-blown computers,
yes.
not like Raspberry Pis or something like this.
No computers.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I have a little funny story to tell you from last night's football game.
Okay.
So we had a situation where a kid goes out of bounds on his own, and comes back in and participates in the play, which is a foul. And so he runs off on the side of the on the sideline, and the other officials are talking to me in the in my headset, and I'm like, I walk over to the coach. I'm about to tell him something about what happens, and I just had to walk away because the coach goes. The coach goes, do they teach you to do that in Madden? And so I just had to laugh. I just walked away because I was like, there's nothing I can tell the coach. He is so aware of what happened right now. It was a hilarious moment on the football field. So anyway, sorry to derail us again.
No.
So anyway.
It was a video game reference. It's totally fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, Matt, what are some of the biggest challenges to homeschooling?
I mean, I would say just being with your kids all day long is, it's draining. And so, in fact, that's kind of one of the things that I hear a lot when I tell people that I homeschool. Their first response is, I could never do that. I couldn't be with my kids that long, or I'm not that patient, or something along those lines.
Right.
And, so, honestly, to that, I would just say God does not call the equipped, he equips the called. And so if God has called you to homeschool, you just do it, and then you take it a step at a time. You don't say, I could never do that because of X, Y, or Z. You say, yes, Lord, and you do it because it's obedience. And so I know that is one area of my life that I have grown tremendously over in the last 11 years is patience. And then also, when I yell at my kids, which I do, I have to humble myself and say, man, I am really sorry that was wrong. And so kids are extremely forgiving, more than most adults. And so I think that also teaches your kids, like they learn to see you being humble, and they see your sin, and then they also see you repent. And so that's a huge thing for me. But yeah, being with your kids all day long is not an easy feat.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Sometimes they need a break from you too. So
it's true. And each other. They're around each other constantly. So when they start fighting, you realize, wow, yeah, y'all probably need a break from each other too.
That's a good reason to have the co-ops, isn't it?
There you go. And those activities.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening right now on Lone Star Community Radio, which we are excited to be a part of now, if you want to hear the rest of this interview, you're going to have to flip over to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify and download the rest of the episode there, and to hear the rest of what Meg has to say about homeschooling. So thank you for being with us today. Meg, anything else that we haven't jumped on yet about homeschooling that needs to be talked about?
Man, I can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything.
It's been good.
No.
A lot of really good information.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, I think it's time.
We just got one more thing that we do, and it's called the Final Four.
The Final Four.
That's right. So 4 questions we ask all of our guests to answer, and so you are our current victim.
You can go home and tell your kids that mom actually had to take a test.
That's right. Pop quiz. Here we go. Question number 1. I hope you're ready. What's the must-have tool you won't leave your house without? So I realize you're a homeschool mom, and maybe Craig calls you and says, "Meg, I need something. Come help." He hangs up.
She is the first one I call.
Obviously. You're not calling me. We all know you're not calling me. What do you grab? What must-have tool?
Oh, okay. So I realize this is a home improvement show, and probably the thing that I'm going to grab is not what most of your listeners are going to grab, but I do not leave home without my pillows, and that's plural. I travel with multiple pillows, and it annoys my husband because even when we go stay in hotels that have like an abundance of pillows, I take my own pillows. So that's my must-have. Like I don't leave home without.
That's because when I call Meg, it's a very serious problem. It's gonna be an overnighter.
Days. That's right. I was just thinking you drive a really old car and it's your airbag system. You never know. It's like, hey, we're saving money any way we can.
So you're like in full on crisis mode if those pillows got left behind.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I'm not sleeping.
All right, good to know.
So like even if it's like even if it's like not necessarily going to be an overnighter, on the off chance that I'm going to be away from the home, I'm packing the pillows. Is that the way this goes down? Is it that serious?
Wow. Okay, no, maybe not the off chance.
Okay.
But I would cry if I ended up somewhere overnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do for like airplane rides?
You can take pillows on an airplane.
Okay.
That's true. I've done it.
Extra bag for your pillows?
That's what's in your bag.
Okay. No clothes.
You don't need a laptop. You just need a pillow.
Well, I mean, like when I fly, it's better for everyone that I scream into the pillow rather than at my children.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a filtering
I'm not happy,
device.
but everyone else around me is much better off because of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Second question. What's a job you walked away from? So, specifically if there's something homeowner related, but, if you want to take it as a career, we're fine with that as well. But what's a job you walked away from?
Okay, so I have a really funny story on this one. And I did have to walk away from this job, but only temporarily until Ace Hardware opened. So we had a really leaky bathtub faucet for a long time. I mean, it just wouldn't shut off, kept leaking. And I'm pretty handy. I mean, I fix a lot of stuff around our house, toilets, dishwashers, dryers. So I was pretty confident that I could fix this leak in our tub. And my husband said, don't do it. But one night, I mean, this has gone on for a while, and one night it just started leaking more. And just being the handy woman that I am, I thought I'm gonna fix it anyway. And it's getting late. The kids have already bathed, and there's no stores open, but I'm going to fix this anyway. I mean, you know where this is going, right? So I take the handle off. It happened to be the hot water side. I start disassembling the handle and pulling stuff out, and water shoots out the handle. And this just isn't water. This is boiling hot water because it's the hot side. So I just grabbed whatever cup, small shampoo washing cup was kind of handy, and like try to redirect this stream of hot water back into the tub as best as possible. It's failing miserably. And I'm screaming at the kids to come help. And so my kids come running in. I'm making them hold the hot water bucket while I go run to the garage to go shut the hot water off to the house, or just the water in general. And so I finally get the things I need, run out to the curb, get the massive thing off of the whatever
meter.
that is, the meter, yes, get it shut off. Have the pool to mop up in my bathroom. And then when Ben comes home at pretty late, it was probably 10 or 10:30, I have to admit to him that I have not successfully fixed this knob. And not only that, but the water has to remain shut off so he doesn't get a shower.
Oh, no.
So it was not the happiest part of our marriage ever. But to my benefit, the next day I did go to Ace Hardware, and I was able to repair that tub for like under $15.
Oh, wow.
I did get it fixed. It just cost me some stuff.
Wow. Emotional stuff.
Yes,
burn cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And a smelly husband.
Yeah.
So
That's got to be the worst.
It didn't go down well.
I bet it didn't. He's the one going, give me your pillows, I'm going to the hotel. You can't have these tonight.
everyone cries today.
That's good. Oh, man. All right. Third question. How do you wind down at the end of a long day?
Oh, once the kids are in bed, I am a Netflix person all the way.
Okay.
I like to just lay in bed and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
What you rolling on these days?
Currently, well, this is an Amazon Prime show, but I'm watching The Middle. It's pretty cute, and just about this family with poor kids. I mean, just kids that are everyday, normal family with all their problems. Only, of course, it magnifies them, so it's fun.
Is that what the broad from Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yes. Yeah. The mom from there.
And then the janitor from Scrubs. right?
Ooh, I don't know about
The
that
dad?
one.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. I had not placed
Look at that.
You're right.
Look at that.
Right. Good job. I think you're right.
Kevin Bacon game right here on the Homeowner Show.
Oh, the things that Craig knows. The useless information that Craig knows. All right. We're going to just keep rolling before he can get me back. Number 4. What's one of the best pieces of wisdom or advice that you've ever received?
So I think what comes to mind here is a quote that I heard. It was back in college, and it has stuck with me. I think about this maybe once a month. It's a quote from C.T. Studd, and he says, "Only one life will soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last." And so I just think of that as I'm going about my day, and from the mundane dishes and laundry to maybe the bigger stuff that I do, which actually is not that much. But I wonder, like, am I doing this for Christ? And is this actually going to last? Or is this just, stuff that I'm doing to get through this life? So that's kind of a quote that I lean on.
Awesome.
Perspective. It's good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we normally ask people how, there are our guests, how do we find you? But I mean, you're not offering a service out there for people to really get a hold of you.
We did that earlier. It was lessonplanladies.com.
That's right. Yeah. Do you have, maybe people have homeschool questions. Is that something that you'd be willing to talk to people about?
Sure. Look me up on Facebook.
Okay. Facebook. We'll connect you up on Facebook on our show notes.
You'll have more friends than you know what to do with.
That's right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. 14 of our episode listeners will call you.
Awesome. Let's chat.
Now, we're actually getting some pretty good downloads right now. We're excited about the trend. Thank you for those of you that are listening today. Thank you for sticking with us, for coming on to the second year with us, for downloading, for telling your friends about us, and for subscribing.
Yep.
All of that kind of stuff. We really do. We joke about it, but we really do appreciate you. So
we absolutely do. We probably need to do like another T-shirt contest for the reviews section there. We've been getting lots of good reviews from folks, and thank you all for sharing episodes. If this one is pertinent to someone that you know or has been helpful to you, let us know or share that episode. Like us on Facebook, Instagram. Hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and whatever form of rinky-dink podcast listening software that you use, like Kevin.
There you go.
And that'll be it.
Yep. We're here every Tuesday, so look us up, download our episodes, and until then, we'll see you later.
See ya.